Didn't take too long, did it? Less than 6 weeks for Biden to create a border and humanitarian crisis. The federal government is using a convention center in Dallas to hold up to 3,000 illegal aliens as the Biden administration scrambles to accommodate the surge of unaccompanied minors who have been told they have a right to enter the United States. Joining me now to weigh in, former senior advisor to President Donald J. Trump, Jason Miller. Always appreciate seeing you, sir. President Trump kept his campaign promise to get illegal immigration under control, but after Biden came in, border has melted down into yet another crisis. Now, socialists are running for cover, laughingly trying to blame President Trump. I want you to watch this.
This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest.
And this president inherited a mess from Donald Trump when it comes to immigration. He's trying to fix it in a humane way.
Joe Biden inherited a huge mess on immigration, and it's not going to be cleaned up in a month. He's only been in office, since January 20th, about 6 weeks, I guess it is. But he's different. His view of immigration is not like Donald Trump's, who was nasty, negative, horrible to immigrants.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So first off, there's Chuck Schumer. This guy should not even credible. He doesn't even know the difference between illegal immigration and immigration. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. But this idea, I don't even think Democrat voters, Jason, believe these Democrats. Do you?
No, not at all. And go right at crying Chuck's point there at the end. President Trump actually received a record number of Latino American and African American votes in the 2020 election for any Republican in the modern presidential era. It's because he's actually out there fighting for the working men and women of this country. But I want to go back and make the point also to what Nancy Pelosi was saying. The fact of the matter is you have illegal immigrants coming to the southern border with T-shirts wearing "Joe Biden, please let us in." That is because when Joe Biden took the debate stage and said that he was going to promise to provide citizenship for 11 million undocumented folks, that wasn't just speaking to the people already illegal here in the U.S. It was an invite to the rest of the world that if you can sneak your way into the United States, if you can enter illegally, Joe Biden's going to keep you here.
Yep. The Biden administration announcing it was sending FEMA to offer aid at the U.S. Mexico border. Now, FEMA, for all of you liberals out there, stands for Federal Emergency Management Agency. Doesn't that undermine Biden's argument this isn't a crisis if he's sending an emergency agency to the border?
Well, exactly. And when we talk about how big of an emergency this is, I want to make sure people at home realize the numbers. There were over 100,000 illegals entering the country just last month, 10,000 of which were unaccompanied minors. Now, think about the child trafficking ring, essentially an international child trafficking ring that the U.S. government, the ICE and Border Patrol and all the hardworking men and women who keep our country safe are now thrust into the middle of. When you have these 10,000 unaccompanied minors then coming in, they've also lifted a lot of the restrictions for what type of ID has to be shown to pick up these kids. And they're essentially stuck here now. They're putting them in FEMA centers, which costs a huge amount of money. And what Biden has gone and completely thrown away is the Remain in Mexico policy. So this is inviting people to come to the United States, and this is all Joe Biden's doing.
Now, before I ask this next question, I want to put this in context, Jason, because I know you know exactly what happened down there along the U.S. Mexico border in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. Republicans came within a hair's breadth of getting a lot of those border communities. Why? Because Latinos don't want their police defunded. Latinos want safety and security. They want the rule of law down there along the Texas-U.S. Mexico border. So everyone gets it. In just over 5 weeks in office, Joe Biden has created a crisis at the border. Now, he foolishly halted wall construction. He placed a moratorium on deportations and promises a pathway to citizenship for millions of illegal aliens who skip the line. Even Texas Democrats like Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez are saying this has to stop. Watch this. Oh, they didn't. OK. Basically what he said, these Democrats here in the state of Texas are saying, Jason, that, look, you've got to turn this around, not only for the humanitarian crisis issue, but what it's doing to our political party along the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, and Chris, you make a really good point here. And part of the reason is when folks move to the United States, when they come here legally, especially if they're coming from Central America or South America, it's not just the economics. It's not just the ability to make more money and provide for one's family. It's also because of the security. And Democrats, the way they turned the blind eye to the riots last summer, the violent activity that spawned out of some of the BLM protests, when they turned a blind eye to that, and also when they're effectively just allowing folks to come into the country, and again, we're in a global pandemic. There are all sorts of drug trafficking and human trafficking, all sorts of bad actors that are trying to come across the border. It's also about security, Chris. Folks who come to the United States are glad that they can live in a country where you don't necessarily have to have 9 or 10-foot walls around your house just to be safe. That's the ideal of America. It is safe. We respect law enforcement, but apparently the Democrats don't.
Yeah, and a lot of those Latinos, their families came from countries. They fled countries exactly what the Democrats want to turn America into. So there's that dynamic. Former President Trump made an appearance at a campaign event at Sarah Huckabee Sanders over the weekend, right? What else is the former president up to, Jason?
Well, good question again. So President was at Sarah's fundraiser on Friday at Mar-a-Lago. I was down there. I didn't have a chance to go into the fundraiser, but I did have a chance to talk to hopefully our next governor from the great state of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Here's the thing to keep in mind with President Trump's endorsement. It is literally the most powerful endorsement, not just in politics today, I'd say probably in politics in world history. Never before have we seen someone who can literally endorse and effectively clear a field. We saw it last cycle, the way that he was able to ward off primary challenges, say in North Carolina, where he helped Tom Tillis win, also helped to clear the fields, or effectively clear the fields in Tennessee to help Bill Hagerty become a U.S. Senator. He has a great record, I think 120 out of 122 endorsements and winning the primary. And the only 2 that he didn't win is because someone said they were more pro-Trump than the person that President Trump endorsed. And so we think with the endorsement, Sarah should be in good shape, but he's receiving dozens of phone calls from incumbent senators, incumbent House members, folks running for open seats, even running against Democrats. Yeah. And he's starting to put together a list of who he's going to be backing and endorsing.
I'll bet. Last thing, I only got about 60 seconds left. Was President Trump invited to do the Bush, Clinton, Obama public service announcements on the China virus? Did the former president get an invite?
So I'm not aware of an invite having been extended. I think we are going to see some more from President Trump in the near future on this. As we saw during his CPAC speech, he made it very clear you need to go out and get the vaccine, especially now if you're eligible to. This isn't something to mess around with. But again, you're going to hear more from President Trump on this in the very near future.
Jason, keep us posted on everything going on in Trump land. We really appreciate your time on the Salcedo Show.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.